Welcome back to Horror Motives. We hope you've been enjoying the chilling content so far. As you know, Horror Motives is a horror community, so we would like to welcome another terrifying being from our dark corner of the world to provide a chilling tale or two. This being is known as the Collector, so we hope you enjoy tonight's terrifying stories. And remember, fear lies within.
So, the use of dating apps has taught me a valuable lesson. A lesson that still makes my skin crawl to this day, and as you may have guessed, this was my first and last time using Tinder. I'd decided to give the whole online dating game a shot. With hundreds of dating apps and dating sites out there, I'd settled on Tinder, one of the most well-known, and an app I knew many of my friends had used before. It wasn't long before I started swiping profiles I'd hoped to match with, and earlier than expected, I had matched with a stunning-looking woman called Megan. Her smile captivating in the profile pictures, and a great bio that piqued my interest. She was local to my area, literally a town away around the corner in Hackney. We began talking, and straight from the go, we had so much in common, messaging like we had known each other years and not only days. We made each other laugh and had playful banter and talked about the same interests that we shared. After a few days of talking, it came to a point where we decided to meet for a drink. We settled on a place in the city centre, a half-hour trip, so I decided to take the underground and not drive. I arrived at the bar. It was a place I hadn't been to before. I arrived first, so I found myself a place at the bar and had a study of the menu as I waited for Megan. It wasn't long before she arrived, and I remember thinking, wow, she looked even better in person than she did on her profile. And the relief that it was actually the same person from the profile, as you hear from all of these catfish stories. She greeted me with her captivating smile and a hug as she took a seat next to me, and we ordered some drinks. Firstly, I stuck to the beer as Megan had a more quirky cocktail. We got on like a house on fire and spoke about a wide range of topics, and it seemed that we shared so much in common, from music taste to films we liked. The date was going so well. We had been in there for a while when Megan suggested we take a trip to another bar she knew. I was game and didn't want the night to end. We collected our belongings and made our way to the place Megan suggested. As we walked, I noticed we were straying further out from the main town. The bustling streets became quieter as we continued our way, and I asked Megan how far this place was. She replied with that same smile and that we were almost there, and at the turn of the alley, we were there. The place looked like a hidden club, and it was pretty busy to be honest. When we got to the door, we had to pay to get in. Megan was rummaging in her bag looking for the cash. I told her no need, and paid for us both to get in. She thanked me, giving me a kiss on the cheek. When we were inside, we again continued the great flirtatious banter we've been having, when Megan chose us a table out of the way of everybody else for some privacy. A few more drinks in, and I was needing the toilet. As I stood up to go to the bathroom, Megan asked me if I was down for trying a cocktail she liked off the menu. I agreed and made my way to the bathroom, thinking how well the date was going. When I arrived back, the drinks were already at the table, and Megan was sitting there, smiling as she waited for me. As I sat down, she brushed her foot up my leg as she sat a bit closer, and she said we should toast with our drinks. As we did, I took a sip, and it tasted great. I asked what it was, and she said it was a tropical cocktail mixed with Malibu that she loved. I too enjoyed the refreshing taste, and as we sat back, the conversation continued. Not 5 minutes later, I was beginning to feel slightly lightheaded. My head began to feel heavy, and my eyes blurred as I tried to shake the feeling off. I remember Megan looking at me, as her smile had faded, and she was looking around cautiously. She began texting on her phone as I sat there, feeling like I was about to pass out. She put her phone down, looked back up at me, and stroked my arm. Her voice muffled as she said, "You don't look so good. Are you okay?" As she again looked around cautiously. A ball of anxiety began to build in my stomach as I looked at my empty glass. Not 5 minutes after drinking it, I felt like I'd been hit by a ton of bricks, and the way Megan was acting, I had the haunting feeling my drink was drugged. Feeling I needed to get out of there, I said to Megan that I needed to get some fresh air, and I'd head outside. She agreed, saying that was a good idea, As I wearily got up, the room spinning, Megan guiding me to the exit, the cold air hitting me as I was finally outside. Only this time, there was no one else around. My heart racing, I couldn't even see straight, Megan's face even becoming a blur. As I fell to the floor trying to steady myself, all I could hear was the distorted voice of Megan and the chilling words,
"Don't worry, you will be okay soon."
and then, with that, I knew she had drugged my drink, and the fear of why consumed me. Unable to gain control of myself, everything faded to darkness. I didn't remember anything after that. The next thing I remembered was waking up to a pounding head, my body shivering from the cold, rain-soaked floor I lay on, and a disoriented feeling as I struggled to gain my bearings. I had woken up in the same cold, wet alley I'd stumbled into, only slouched out of view behind a dumpster. The sickening realization hitting me as I discovered my wallet had been taken. My money, cards, all in there, now gone. Not only that, but my watch and jacket stripped from my body. I had been drugged and robbed. The sobering reality of what happened made me physically sick. I called the police to report the crime and what happened to me. From the online date to the night we met, I told them everything. To my shock, they said this was a common occurrence, that dating apps were often used as a tool to lure in unsuspecting victims, and there seemed to be a group operating through these sites, creating fake accounts and meeting men, and repeating this sickening crime that happened to me. They said they would keep me informed on any progress with the investigation. A few people were apprehended involving these robberies, but that Megan, whoever she really was, has sadly yet to be caught, and is probably still repeating this sickening tactic. That was, unsurprisingly, the last time I used any dating apps. The experience has put me off for life, and the feeling I felt that night, the loss of control, the helplessness, I never want to feel like that again. Be careful out there, and I recommend keeping a good eye on your drinks. I downloaded and used many dating apps over the years, but one experience nearly cost me dearly. I found it easier at first to meet people online and talk, getting to know each other that way, instead of the awkwardness of meeting someone face to face. I know meeting someone online, you'll still meet them face to face eventually, but it broke the ice and made it easier for me that way. I'm from Oregon, and have always been one for taking trips, so I never really set up my profile to look for local women in my city. I pretty much talked to people from all over the country. This caused me to come across a woman I began talking to, called Jessica. She was 26 from LA, and to be honest, she looked beautiful in her profile pics. We made an instant connection, and began talking non-stop for the first few weeks, and ended up video calling each other a few times. It was great. I really enjoyed talking to her, and felt so connected, feeling that we had a lot in common. It came to a point after talking for the first couple of weeks that she suggested we meet face to face. I jumped at the idea. The distance wasn't so much of an issue, as I drove and always wanted to take that trip to LA anyway. I had a friend who had moved out there and was living in the city who was more than happy for me to make the trip and stay with him, saving on accommodation fees. So, with all of that in place, we decided on a date and I made the trip out there. A long drive, but I thought it would be worth it. When I arrived and finally met Jessica in real life, she looked even better in person. No one expected catfish, it was genuinely her. We spent the whole day together and it was amazing. She was fun, easy to talk to, and from the impression I got, was really into me. After having been for drinks and having dinner in the evening, I went back to my friend's place to crash for the night. I thought to myself, Jessica seemed perfect. I could really see myself getting to know her more and even see a long-term future with her. That night I told my friend about her and showed him a picture of her. Upon viewing it, he agreed she was attractive, but he seemed to study the picture longer than expected. He told me that he felt like he recognized her, had seen her somewhere, but he couldn't recall where. I didn't know if he had or hadn't, or if she just looked similar to a woman he had seen before. Either way, it didn't bother me, and with him unable to place it in his head, we soon changed the topic and had a great night catching up. The next day, I'd invited my friend and his girlfriend out with me and Jessica, obviously running it by her first, but she was happy to do so. We went out as a group that day, which ended up being a really good day, and it seemed my friend and his partner liked her. That evening, we invited her back to my friend's house with us to continue the night, but
She didn't agree. She said no, putting it down to being tired. It was disappointing, but no problem, as I would see her the next day. That night, at around midnight, just as I was getting myself into bed, I received a text. It was from Jessica and it read, "I really want to see you tomorrow, but only us two this time, and I have a great idea if you like the sound of it." The text was soon followed by another, "Let's go camping. I know a great place." Camping, I remember thinking. It was out of the blue, but I actually liked the idea. I liked the thought of spending a few days away with her, just the two of us, in what I assumed would be great scenery. Obviously short notice, my first thought thinking of camping supplies and equipment, but she said she already had camping equipment as it was a hobby of hers. So I agreed, and I couldn't wait, although I would have to extend my break slightly from work. The next morning, I told my friend of our plan and that I wouldn't be there that night. She hadn't told me where we would be going camping, but I was up as early as I was told we needed to be to make an early start to get there before dark. She was the one driving, and she seemed happy to do so we began our journey. I observed on the journey that every time I tried to make conversation with Jessica regarding her family, she would go quiet. Her mood dropped, and she wouldn't answer. I assumed it may have been a touchy subject and changed the topic, not wanting to persist on it. As the drive continued, the conversations became less and less. I assumed she was concentrating on driving, so I offered to swap, but she said no, it was okay. She didn't mind the drive. After a long drive, we began to arrive at a forested area with less and less around us. She said we were almost there, and that there was a beautiful lake in between which she was going to direct us to. She had been there many times before. When we parked up, I could see what she meant. There was a massive lake situated in the forest. We had all the stuff we needed for camping, so we began to set up shop. After setting up and getting a fire going, I noticed Jessica was acting weird. She wasn't as talkative. She stopped smiling. To be honest, I didn't know what was up with her. I decided to ask her if everything was okay, but she didn't say much, just saying she was fine. It was completely dark now, and this hadn't turned out to be the trip I thought it was going to be. Now fully dark, Jessica got up and said she was going to pee, and she wandered off into a wooded pathway and just disappeared. With what seemed like an age, she never reappeared. After a good few minutes, I began shouting her name. There was no reply. She didn't shout back, and I could see no sign of her. At this point, I was becoming concerned. This was just so weird. I didn't know if she was okay or not, so I began looking for her. As I walked down the way she had disappeared, I just kept walking, with no sign of her. I must have walked 10 minutes in shouting her name, but nothing. Beginning to freak the fuck out by now, I was worried not just for her, but for me. I didn't know where the fuck I was. And then, laying straight in front of my path was a run-down cabin. Standing there, in that moment, for a minute I just didn't know what to do. Check it out or head back. There was no lights, but I could see the door was slightly open, not shut. I had no idea if she was, or if so, why Jessica would be in there, but I decided to check it out. I shouted her name, but again, I got no reply. As I made my way up the steps to the front door, I couldn't hear anything. I reached my hand out, pushing the door open, and the creak it made sent my pulse racing. I wasn't expecting it. The door, fully open now. I couldn't bring myself to step straight in. Instead, I grabbed the frame. Muttering Jessica's name somehow, I peered my head in, and as I did, what I saw sent my heart racing. I froze. I could see through the darkness of the room, a figure standing in the middle of the room, motionless on a chair. The figure was, to my surprise, Jessica. But not only that. In the corner of the room, behind her, was another tall figure of what seemed to be a man. I didn't know what to say. It was then Jessica stood up, saying, finally, I'd found them, and that this didn't have to be difficult if I just cooperated. I didn't understand, my heart pounding as I asked what the fuck is going on. She just laughed. As she did, the figure of the man lunged out of the corner, making his way to me, shouting that I do not act stupid. He was older. His eyes looked crazy, full of hatred. I wasted no time, turning my back, jumping down the stairs and running back the way I came. My heart pounding, I couldn't bring myself to look back. All I could hear was the gaining footsteps following me, along with Jessica's crazed laughter in the background. Tripping slightly, I stumbled to the ground, picking up the nearest object I could find, a large rock, looking back at the man who was almost on top of me. With no hesitation and fearing for my life, I launched it just as he was over me, hitting him square in the face, sending him crashing to the ground, holding his face. Adrenaline picking me up as fast as I could, the laughter behind me turning into crazed screams. The sight of the campfire now in front of me, I didn't have a clue where I was going to go. But honestly, I feel an angel must have been watching over me that night. As I grabbed Jessica's rucksack, a saving grace was the fact that the car keys were in there. She hadn't taken them. Leaving everything behind, I jumped in the car, starting the engine and putting my foot down to get out of there. As I did, from the clearing, I could see the psychotic face of Jessica coming down from the clearing. Nothing like the girl I had met. The most haunting thing to me, she was holding a blade. Not knowing where I was going, I drove until I found the open road, and as soon as I was able to get the signal, I pulled over to call the police. The area I was taken to was searched, the cabin was found, but no sign of Jessica or the man. I gave as much detail as I could, looking to get Jessica's dating profile up. Of course, all of it was gone. An extensive search of the area was done. Luckily, I had a picture taken of her days prior. On giving it to the police, I found out her name wasn't even Jessica, and the woman that I had met was on the police records for previous convictions, similar to what nearly happened to me. Burglary, luring men under fake identities, robbing and assaulting them, with whoever her partner was. It's safe to say, that event nearly cost me dearly. Even could have cost me my life. I have not used a dating app since, and never will. To everyone that does out there, be careful. My experience may be very rare, but these things do happen. This is The Collector. Thank you for listening to these terrifying encounters. I hope you enjoyed my read of these disturbing dating stories, and thank you for welcoming me to this dark corner of the world. If you enjoyed this video and want more terrifying content like this, then, if you can, please like and share. It really helps us out. Be sure to subscribe and become a part of our horror community, joining us on this terrifying journey. You won't be disappointed. If you have a subject in mind you would like to hear soon, comment it below, and remember, fear lies within.